Hello and welcome to all of our agents, trainers, Pikmin bloomers, ballers, lightship pilots, eighth wall advertisers, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode 65 of the Wayspotters podcast. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people of the Pokémon Professor Network. And guess what? Today is Friday, April the 7th, 2023. And I am one of your hosts, Blaine Jamal. And with me, as always, is our other host, all the way from the great white north of Canada, Professor Glah, aka Chris. Chris, hey man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
You know, it's been a week, right?
It has been a week. It has been a week.
Well, Chris, before I get to your opening remarks, I just want to say we here at the Wayspotters podcast are here to support all the trainers in urban cities and rural townships. This past week has been a tough one for the Niantic community, and I've seen on Twitter how the changes Niantic is making has affected and is affecting our brothers and sisters that play all of the games, and in this case, Pokemon Go. Many rural trainers are saying they don't have a lot of options for Pokestops and gyms in their local area. Well, I can tell you this, the Wayspotters podcast has been reading and listening to all of the messages on Twitter and other social medias, and we definitely want to do our part to help the underserved rural trainer. So we're dedicating this episode of the Wayspotters podcast to trainers outside of the big cities. We're going to try to help you get creative and find ways to add more POIs to your local Wayfarer and get them on the game board. By nature of you being located in a more rural or remote area, this is going to be a team effort. So I'm also going to call on all of my brothers and sisters in those big old cities to take a drive out to the countryside and help these trainers out, help them find POIs to get them in the game. So Chris, there's been two things that I've heard this week. You want to know what they are?
What's that?
All right. Number one, there are no POIs in my village, town, or area. And number two, there is no local community to gather to do any raids. So here is the message we want to get to all the people affected by this. In order to get more POIs in your area, we need you to identify three things when looking for a good candidate to submit as a Wayspot that could potentially turn into a Pokestop or a gym. We want you to find a good place to explore, a good place to be social, and a good place to exercise. Chris, what are your thoughts on these changes and, more importantly, helping us help out rural trainers and rural communities?
I think it's important that we kind of reach out to all those communities that are definitely underserved. There's a lot of people in the Discords that I'm in and I've seen on Twitter saying, hey, there's nothing in my area, right? So I think it's incumbent on everyone to do what we did back in 2016, go out there, meet new people, find those Wayspots, put them into the game, and try and build your community back up. Because I think that's kind of what we need as a planet right now. We need to get back to normal, the way things were before. So I really want to take some time and volunteer and really help those people in the rural areas who don't necessarily have a lot of POIs, but there might be a lot of POIs in their city or their town. So I want to be able to help them.
Yeah, that's the key thing that I want to focus on right now. I don't necessarily want to get into the controversy of what Niantic has done or what they're planning to do. It's done. As of today, the prices for raid passes have gone up and the limits have gone on. You can only do 5 a day. What I think we want to focus on as a podcast is, now that you're in this situation, you're in a rural community. I've seen those screenshots of people who put the little videos on where they, make a circle with their avatar and there's nothing around there. I get it. It sucks. So let's find ways to teach you Wayfarer, right? We've got a lot of new listeners in the last couple of weeks. If you're listening to this and you're affected by these changes and you don't have anything near you, hopefully by the end of this podcast, Chris and I will give you some ideas of things in your local area that you can go and find and nominate, and then we can further help you understand how the reviewing process goes so you can earn those upgrades so you can have something in your area. It's not a snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're going to have all this stuff by you. You're still not going to be able to have a couch portal or a home stop. Those things still aren't eligible, but one thing that I know Chris loves to talk about is mom and pop shops in your local area, the local soda shop, the local restaurant. All of these things can be eligible. And hopefully by the end of today, we will have found some of those, help you have found some of those in the area. So call this Jamal's call in action to existing wayfinders and explorers to get out in those rural communities and help the people out so they can enjoy all of the Niantic games, not just Pokemon, but Pikmin, Peridot, Ingress, and all of the other Niantic adjacent properties like A Realm that you can do. So Chris, do you want to take us into topic number 1?
Sure thing. Topic number 1. All right, topic number 1. We wanted to start first, but how you get started in Wayfarer. So getting started in Wayfarer is super, super easy, but there is a bit of a level gate. So you got to be level 10 in Ingress or level 37 in Pokemon Go. Level 37 in Pokemon Go is by far way easier to achieve than level 10 in Ingress.
For sure. You don't have to get any badges or medals or any of that stuff.
And with the friendship the way that it is in Pogo right now, you can breeze to level 37. So it's not that hard. But yeah, it's super, super easy. There is a test that you need to pass in order to get started in Wayfarer. So I watched a video last night because it's been so long since I got started. I don't even remember how it works, and I'm sure that it's changed, and it has. So you go in, and it makes you read the eligibility criteria and the rejection criteria, and you have to go through it. So our advice, do not just scroll through it, read it. It's a lot of information, but it's a lot of good information.
And the test, like you said, it's different than when I took it.
Yes.
They revamped the test a while ago. So now you have to take the test before you can review and submit.
Yes. I honestly, I think they change the questions on the test every year, because I saw a couple of videos from like a year and a half ago, and people were like, the questions were different for me. So,
oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, I think they change it up every once in a while. So my advice, don't go Google those videos like I did. Stick to the criteria that Niantic has on the Wayfarer website, and you'll be fine. The questions aren't that hard.
No, they're really
from what I saw, and it's not like they go too deep. It's like, hey, this is a sign for a park. Is this description good? Right. This is like a decorative flower bed. Is the location correct? And you can clearly see it on the map. So don't overthink it.
Right. Not to get on a tangent, you know what I wish they would do is every year you'd have to retest based on the current criteria. We could do a whole show on that, because that would make some people mad, because some people still reject stuff that is currently in the guidelines, but they're like, no, this wasn't eligible in 2019. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about. But let's do a whole show on that.
We could. We absolutely could. We absolutely could.
While we're here, Chris, for the people who are watching this on YouTube, is my lighting better?
Better. Much better.
Everyone said I looked like I was in a dungeon. So let me show you. I went and bought a new light. So this is some production stuff that we probably shouldn't be doing, but we're going to do it. So this is Jamal without light. And this is Jamal with light. Uh-oh. Did I break it? No, I broke it. Are you serious? All right, we're going to leave all that in. All right, that's Jamal with light. So we're going to leave all that in.
Perfect.
Maybe we won't leave it in. Anyways, go ahead.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes. All right, continue.
All right. So now that once you've gone through and you've done the test and you've passed, there's 10 questions. I believe that you have. I don't know what the pass fail is on that. I could not find any information on that in typical Niantic fashion.
Yeah, I don't think they tell us.
I don't think. I would imagine 80%. Like, you got to get 8 out of the 10 correct. But like I said, it's not that hard. I looked at a couple videos and you can breeze through it. There's no time limit, so don't feel like you're rushed.
Oh, and also remember the new update is if you fail the test, you can take it again in 15 minutes. Yeah. So there used to be a gate on it where if you failed the test, you had to wait a while to take it again. Then if you fail it a second time, you could never take it again. You were banned from Wayfarer. But now you can take it as many times as you want, but there's a 15-minute gate in between, and that 15 minutes is meant for you to go back and do a little more studying. So if you have test anxiety, like sometimes I do, don't worry about it. It's not old school where you had twice to do it and you were done. This is a little more forgiving.
And here's my offer to all our listeners. If you have to go and take the test, you take the test and you're not sure about a question, take a screenshot, DM it to me. I might not get to you right away, but I will take a look and I will explain to you what the right answer is, and I will explain to you why it's the right answer.
That's the more important part. Show your work.
Right, exactly, yeah. So go through it, do it. And if you happen to fail, send me the ones that you think that you might have answered wrong. I'll walk you through it.
That's going to be the theme of this podcast, because I'm going to say that very same thing that you said. I'm going to invite people to DM me and email me several times during the podcast. And as you guys listen, you'll understand why. But I think that's going to be a constant theme, that Chris and I are putting ourselves out there to be good community partners, and we want to help people who need the help. So, all right.
Absolutely.
What's up next?
So now that you've passed and you've put your submission in, you've done your nomination, when does your POI show up? So that is something that we could do a whole other show on as well, inclusion rules. But first thing you want to do after you've submitted your nominations, go back into the Wayfarer website and double check your work. Like Jamal just said, check your work. Make sure that all your spelling is correct, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is good. While you're there, do a bunch of reviews. We want you to do 25 to 30 reviews for every submission that you put in. Because remember, if you're putting in submissions, so are other people. And the more stuff that you help get through the system, the quicker your stuff will get through the system. So, and then you're going to have to wait. It's not a snap your finger and get it into the map kind of thing. Some places, like where I live, you get a resolution in a week. More rural areas, Jamal gives me crap every time I mention that.
A week. That's like a dream.
It is, yeah. And you know what? To tell you the truth, it's getting a lot quicker from what I've heard. There's a lot of people who are just like, I usually wait years. That they're getting theirs back in weeks, right? So
I've got some that are still 6 months out. So punchline is, Niantic made changes. You want Wayspots. You found something cool. You submitted it. How long does it take? I don't know. We don't have those answers.
Exactly. Yeah. I think what's happening is they're pushing through some of the newer stuff quicker while they work through the backlog. So I believe they're trying to encourage new people to get out there and do their wayfinding. So they've got this new stuff going through quicker to encourage people to, because it's very discouraging. Like if you put a couple things in and then it's 6 months later and you've still got no answers on your first two, why would I do 15, 20 more, right?
I submitted something 4 days ago and it went into voting after 2 days. But then I have stuff that I submitted 3 weeks ago and it's still in queue. So
still in queue, yeah.
But to the rural people who are experiencing this, don't get discouraged. If you don't submit something to go into Wayfarer for your local community, you're never going to have a Wayspot. So even if it takes a little bit of time, don't get discouraged. Put it out there. So hopefully, like I said, you'll understand why. So now, Chris, now that your POI is in Wayfarer, let's talk about like the nuts and bolts of reviewing, right? And the reason why I want to go to reviewing is because most people who are not in Chris's part of Canada, and I'll just leave that there, need upgrades. I need upgrades, right? I need upgrades. And let me explain what an upgrade is. So when you're talking about Wayfarer and you're talking about reviewing POIs, you'll see your avatar, a picture of yourself at the center of the screen, and there'll be a number underneath it. Every time you vote on a POI, and you vote in the way that the rest of the community votes, you will get an agreement, all right? Once you get 99 agreements and you get to the 100, then you will earn an upgrade. So that means if I see a POI and let's say it's a playground and a park and a playground, and I'm like, this should be in the Lightship database. And the rest of the community, the rest of the people who vote on that agree. Yes, this 100% should be on the Lightship database. That means I get an agreement. You also get an agreement if you're like, this is cold as hell and this should not be in the Lightship database. You also get an agreement for that. As I said, once you get 100 agreements, then you get an upgrade. And what an upgrade is you can use that upgrade and apply it to one of your nominations, and it gets Niantic doesn't want to say fast-tracked, but what happens is it gets exposed to a wider audience. So, for example, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. There's a finite box of people that see my nomination within, call it, I don't know, 20, 30 kilometers. I don't know what it is. There's a box. It's an L6 for those of you know who the S2 sells. If I apply an upgrade, it doesn't get pushed to the top, but it'll expand. So people in nearby states, so you go over to Tennessee, you go down to Georgia, you go up to Virginia, all around, it expands it to a much wider area. More people see it, more people vote on it. So an upgrade will go through faster. So people commonly say it gets fast tracked. It doesn't. It just gets more viewers on it. Mm-hmm. And the more reviewers, the faster it goes. Now, Niantic has not disclosed to the public how many votes you need on any one nomination in order for it to be approved, because there's a whole lot of cheating out there. Go back and listen to episode 9 with A. Ferrandis. You'll know what we're talking about. So they don't want to put that number out there because people could manipulate that number. But that's why I stress to people, not only do I want you to nominate, but like Chris said, I want you to do 25 to 30 reviews after you've nominated. So, Chris, what criteria should I use if I'm a new reviewer to determine if the POI is worthy?
There are 3 criteria. The big criteria is a good place to explore, a good place to be social, and a good place to exercise, right? So this is my Wayfarer screen. And like Jamal was talking about, so I have less reviews than I thought I did that I mentioned a couple episodes. I thought I was close to 14,000, but I'm close to 12,000. So you see the process, that's 7,963 agreements. So for every, like he said, every 100 of those, you get an upgrade.
Will you scroll up for a second? Will you scroll up for a second to show the viewers right there? So, and explain, that's what I wanted to, can you explain that to them real quick, that part?
Oh yeah. Part? So this is your upgrade percentage. So every time you get an agreement, this little circle here will creep closer and closer and closer up to the 100 here. So that's how you know that's how close to an upgrade you are. So when you're close in the 90s range here, maybe push through and do some more reviews than you were doing before. And typically you'll have to wait a little bit for your agreement. Like if you do 100 reviews today, you're not going to get 100 agreements today. It has to work through the system. So once other people review the same things that you're reviewing, then it'll come to a resolution and then you'll get your agreement or you won't get your agreement. 70% is a pretty good area to be around. I've seen people in the 60s, some people in the 80s. But yeah, somewhere in that range is good. But once you've got your 100%, it'll show up down here, upgrades available. And then you can go into your contributions tab.
Hold on a second. You have 11 up.
I have 30.
Wait,
30? I don't need them. Testone posted in the Discord. I think it might
you have 30 upgrades. Do you know what I could do with 30 upgrades? I could
if I could trade them to you, I would. If I could trade them to you, I would.
30 upgrades. I'm like physically annoyed right now. 30 upgrades. Okay, continue. All right. I might even turn.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. Continue.
Once you go, so you can go to your contributions here. You can click on, and then there you go. Your upgrade and upgrade next.
Oh, I thought you were going to use an upgrade.
Oh God, no. Oh, God.
So for those of you listening to the podcast and not watching it on video, Chris hovered over upgrade, and I thought he was going to click it, and I was about to jump out of my chair, and then he's like, "Oh God, no!" So as a good practice from here on out, listen to the podcast. Please listen to the podcast, but then go find us on YouTube and give a listen. give a look at your favorite part of the show and let us know what you
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. You can hit upgrade next. So if you've got something in your contributions that you want to get auto upgraded, once you earn that upgrade, it'll automatically apply to that. So you don't have to go in and do it later, right? So that's a super handy thing to have. But yeah, that's how that works.
All right. So now let's talk about the stars. Let's go in and actually look at a review. And how do we go about handing those stars out? So this is something that, let's pull one. This is something that confuses a lot of Wayfinders because Niantic Wayfarer has not been really clear on what they want us to do. Now, there used to be specific guidelines, like if it was a gazebo, you give it 4 stars. If it was this, you give it 5 stars. But they haven't been really clear, and they've teased us with this yes or no, or green, red, yellow. They've teased us for about 2 years with that, but we still have got these 5 stars. So, Chris, do you want to go through this? And this has got snow on it, so I'm already happy. But do you want to go through this and kind of walk the listeners through? The viewers will be able to see it, but kind of walk the listeners through of what you're explaining and how you go about doling out stars when it comes to doing reviews on Wayfarer.
Right. So the first thing that you want to look at is the picture. So I always click on it because you can zoom in on the picture. This one is for those who are listening, it looks like a puppy dog poop disposal station. Not exactly high on my list of things that I want on the Wayfarer map at the moment.
Right.
But say you're looking at it, you want to make sure that your picture is centered. So the POI is in the center. This is in the center. You want to make sure if there is snow in there, you want to make sure that the snow isn't obscuring the POI too much. The lighting's good. It's a good picture. Would you want this picture to be on the photo disc or on the portal, right?
Right.
So once you're good there, I don't touch this until I've done everything else first, right?
Right.
So
the 5 stars that are located under the main picture is kind of the determination of whether you're saying, do you want this to be a Wayspot or not? So you don't touch that at all. You go through the rest of the nomination before you go back and give it your thumbs up or thumbs down.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So these 5 stars here, right underneath the picture, that's the overall score that you want to give this Wayspot. So then I go to title and descriptions. Do you read the title? Is the title accurate? Yes. This is an Arbor's puppy service station. The description is dog and puppy service station for Arbor community, equipped with doggy food and drink station, doggy bags, and disposal bin. So now that tells me that this is more just somewhere where you can throw your dog poop, right?
It's almost like a puppy little free library, huh?
Right. Yeah. So now I'm more intrigued than I was before, right? Which is why you don't just look at the picture and go, oh no, see you later.
Right.
Are there spelling mistakes? No. I don't necessarily worry about punctuation at this point too much, as long as it's not egregious, right? So to me, that's accurate, right? I hate how it does that. So when you click your stars for title and description, it automatically scrolls you down.
Mm-hmm.
So
before you even get a chance to look at your supplemental information.
Right, yeah. So supplemental information, you want to click on that picture as well. You want to be able to find the POI in the supplemental photo and say, yep, I can see this, and there's more context.
Shows that there's pedestrian access.
Yep. And you can see it for those who are listening, it is in the far back right of the supplemental information. So this is a good supplemental photo. All right, so that's good. The supplemental information is dog service station for the Arbor community, hub spot for the large number of dog owners in the community. Decent. Mm-hmm. It gives me a little bit more information about what this Wayspot potentially is, and that's what you want.
This has turned for me from when you first brought it up. I'm thinking automatically 1 star and move on. So I'm glad that we have this one here, just kind of a random one for the new wayfinders who are looking at Wayfarer maybe for the first time, trying to get something included and earn an upgrade. So continue.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one that the Wayfarer gods have bestowed upon us.
Yes.
Historic or cultural. See, this is what drives me nuts about this, and I don't want to get on a tangent, but historic or cultural significance, you don't necessarily need to have this. So what I do is, if it doesn't have any cultural or historic significance, which not everything needs to, I just 3-star in the middle, right?
Right.
Is it visually unique? Probably for the area.
Yeah. I don't think it's not unique. These here, if I'm talking to someone brand new, let's say you've got under 100 reviews or maybe even under 1,000 reviews, what you have to realize is what's culturally significant in Charlotte, North Carolina might not be culturally significant in Ottawa. So there might be some things in Chris's area, in the greater Ottawa area, that is something that's a local hero, someone who's very, very, very important to the area. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't know who that person is. You might come down to Charlotte and you might see something that's a Richard Petty theme. And if you're not a race fan or a NASCAR fan, you might not even know who Richard Petty is. But here we'd be like, oh, Richard Petty, rock on, So you have to be kind of careful with that. And that's one thing that I wish Niantic would change up, because if I'm using an upgrade and somebody in Los Angeles, California is seeing yours or mine, they might not understand the cultural relevance or even kind of an inside joke. We've got some statues in Charlotte that are only statues because something bad happened or something funny happened and they left it there. And you might look at it and go, what is that? Just to give you a perfect example of that, I grew up in Portland, Oregon. And there's a statue in Portland, Oregon of a guy wearing a trench coat. It's a bronze statue, a guy wearing a trench coat, and it looks like he's opening his trench coat like he's flashing him. And it was a statue in ode to one of the old mayors of the city, that was like one of his campaign things back in the 80s. He, and then when you go around the other side, it was like his campaign ad, like a fully clothed person. Right, but that's really important to the people in Portland, because I was like the mayor for 8 years and it was like a huge viral campaign before things were viral. But if you're in Ottawa, you might go, this is silly, So you have to be really careful with that, people, when you're looking at things, and just think this might not look culturally significant to you, but it is historically and culturally relevant to the people of that area. And that's another reason that we can do a whole nother show on upgrades, on why they can be good and why they can be bad. So
I saw, on that same note, I can't remember where I saw it. It might have been one of my reviews. It was a plaque commemorating a park bench that used to be there that was destroyed in a fire. So the plaque was memorializing a park bench. Right?
Gotcha.
To me, it was funny. Like, I thought it funny.
Yeah, totally.
But like somebody from a big city, you'd be like, that's not funny. Why is that there? Right. That's not significant to me. But it's to that area. Yeah. There's obviously a story there. Yeah. Right.
So visually unique, culturally relevant, it's one of those things.
It's subjective. It is subjective.
Very subjective.
But
very subjective.
If it's not necessarily relevant to the nomination, I give it 3 stars, right? That's neutral.
I think that's
right
fair.
Down the middle.
Yep, I think that's fair.
Visually unique, I would give this one a 4. It is mass produced, but it is probably the only one in the area, right? Safe access, you can see from the supplemental photo that there is a walking path right up to it. You can see it. So 100% there is safe access. 5 stars. Here is the fun one. So now we're going to move to check location accuracy and duplicates. So the first thing I do, always put the satellite back on. And then you take your mouse, go down to the bottom here, and you'll see a whole bunch of Wayspots that are on the map in the nearby area. Just take a quick scroll through and see if you see it anywhere in there. I'm going to go slower than I normally go. I always look right to the end, because you never know if someone's trying to fake put something in from 4 or 5 blocks down the street. So you scroll over.
People do that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. You got to be careful of fake nominations. So if you need to, you can click on one of the pictures and it will show you where in relation to the pin. So this is the pin. The red dot is where they have said, hey, this is where this Wayspot is. You click on the picture and it will open up this. So if it is a duplicate, you push the mark as duplicate button and you're done. Right?
Now, Chris, what would happen? What would happen if where they have the pin, let's say there's a canopy of trees over it? Is there any other way you can see it to make sure it's not a fake location?
The ones that under tree canopies are difficult. You kind of want to hope that there's a photosphere in the area that you can see. But there's not much that you can do.
What does that little dude over there do? What does he do on the right side?
So I'll get to the yellow dude in 1 second. So just let me finish with this. If you want to click on the picture, you can see the bigger picture. So let's go back over to the pin. And this is the Google Street View man. We call him the little yellow man. You can pick him up.
Yellow guy, little fella.
And you can drag him where the blue lines, the teal lines are on the map. That's where you can drop the guy. And that's where the Google car has gone. And you can even see a preview there. Right, so let's see if we can drop it right close to where this is, and it will open up the Google Street Map. And then you can use this to zoom in and try and find the POI, which unfortunately you cannot see it right here. But this is where you go back to the supplemental photo and say, in relation to this picture, the supplemental picture, can I determine if this POI is where it says it is, right?
Now, one thing I want to add, Chris, at the bottom of the screen for you listening, there is a date of which Google Street View took this picture. Can you see that date? Does it show the date there?
No, it doesn't actually.
Oh, it doesn't show the date.
So that's a plugin you have to add. So that's one of your fancy plugins, which we need to get Testone on to A, fix your plugins, and B, walk the listeners and the viewers through.
So if you've got one of the naughty plugins like I do, I've got so many naughty plugins that my plugins are on top of each other and I get crap for it. There's a plugin you can get that will show you the date of the Google Street View. Now, why that's important is, like I said, in my city, Charlotte, North Carolina, they're literally tearing down any patch of trees or grass in the city and putting up some form of concrete. So if this Google Street View is any older than 6 months, it's probably not what it is now. Like there's like a whole little forest back behind where I live that they're putting up 2 new subdivisions. So they haven't updated the Google Street View. So if your Google Street View is older than a year or so, just keep that in mind that new construction may have happened or something else is going on there.
So here's what I'll say about this. You can tell off on the right here, there is this wooden flower bed kind of thing. And if you go up to the supplemental photo, you can see that same wooden flower bed off on the left-hand side. Yes. There's also the stairs going up. And you go back to the street view, you can see the stairs going up. One key here is it looks like the stairs are like a different color in the supporting photo. So it's likely that this street view is a little bit older. The other thing that I noticed, if you look at the building on the satellite view, it's got this little angle little bit here.
Yep.
If you look at the supporting photo, you can see the building in the supporting photo has that same kind of angle. So
it's one of those, it checks out. Yeah, it checks out. It checks out.
So this one, because I can't find this on the map, but I believe that it exists. They have ratings. So rate 1 star if the nomination cannot be found. 3 stars if likely to exist but is obscured. I think that it's probably behind that bush.
Yeah.
So I would give 3 stars for location. Yep. Right. So
I agree.
Overall, 4 stars. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Go down to the bottom, and this isn't necessarily. Oh, see, this one is so the what is it? Sometimes is required, sometimes isn't. So always double check. Water fountain, drinking fountain, waste bin. Yeah, I guess you consider it's a drinking fountain for dogs, not a water fountain, not a place nice. These are sometimes a little weird.
Right.
Pick the one that you think is the best. Niantic uses it to categorize their Wayspots.
I can tell you, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this was submitted through Ingress, because if you submit it through Pokemon Go, you have to declare what it is, at least one, even if you do other. You do. So this was probably submitted through Ingress. And so the AI is picking up this and it's trying to guess of what it is based on a reverse photo lookup and also what you put in your information. So if you see somewhere it's pre-filled in, you'll know that that's submitted through Pokemon Go. I also have a naughty little plugin that will tell me if it's Pokemon Go or Ingress. Ooh. So yeah. Anyway,
yeah, see, I don't know.
Like I said, we'll have to get Testone on to kind of walk us through the plugins, and we'll first ask him if that's going to get him in trouble with Niantic, since he is an ambassador. We don't want to get him in trouble, so we'll have to ask him. We don't want that. Yeah, we'll have to ask him if that's okay. All right. So Chris, so are we ready to submit this submission now?
I think that we are. So you have two options. You can either hit submit and it will immediately bring you with another review so you can continue on. Or if you're done, you hit submit and finish reviewing. I thought for a second it was going to time us out there because you have a limited amount of time to do the review before it starts taking too long.
It's 20 minutes.
Is it 20 minutes? Okay, good.
Yeah, I only know that because I have another plugin that counts down. But anyway.
Oh, nice. I need to get that one. That's one I need to get.
When I tell you I literally have all the plugins, I have all the plugins. And that's why people always give me a hard time, because I literally have every plugin. All right. So then the other thing we've already kind of talked about this is, what is an upgrade and how do I get one and what do I do with it? So we kind of talked about that a little bit earlier before. So, Chris, we teased this at the top of the show, and you've talked about it a little bit. So what Niantic wants from us, what their ask is of every explorer who's going out and finding Wayspots. And I want to specifically tailor this next section to our friends and neighbors, our brothers and sisters in rural areas who don't have anything, right? So do you want to go over the three criterias, and then we'll go over them one by one and see if we can find a good example? I tried to find some things in a rural setting. Don't know how great I did, but let's go. So you want to go over number one?
Right. So number one is a good place to explore.
Yeah. So I'll take this one. So this one is Seep Lakes. So what I want you to look at is, if you can look at this is a screenshot, so this is not a live review, but if you look at kind of on the bottom left side of your screen, if you look at the background, that photo shows that this is legitimately out in the middle of nowhere, right? So this is in Warden, Washington, in Washington State, in the Great Pacific Northwest, and it's a sign. So it's a sign that shows all of the different lakes, and it's a wooden sign on a metal post, two metal posts, and it's a directional sign showing where you can go. And the description is Seep Lakes, and it's a place for quiet time camping, fishing, and hiking. And I don't know, Chris, if you could get in any more of a rural area than this is. The supporting photo isn't great. It doesn't show the original POI in the supporting photo, but you get the point. And when you look down at the kind of overhead view, the satellite view, it kind of shows the confluence of two roads and where the pin is. So this is probably as rural as you're going to get. So what I'm trying to say to all the explorers out there, a good place to explore, like this is just in the country, and here's a random directional sign, something that you might see in a rural area. So I just am using this to hopefully that will help you when you go out to look for something.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is great. This is one of those places it's got the sign, so it's pointing you in the direction of a bunch of other things that are probably POI worthy. Right? Yes. So it's encouraging you to get out and go further on your hike, go further on your walk, and say, hey, go explore over here. Mm-hmm. Go find out some new stuff, go out, get healthy, all that sort of good stuff, which is one of the Niantic's core pillars, so this is a great one. Yep. I love this one. All
right, you want to take number two?
Number two. So we got number two is a good place to be social. This is the City of Weston Belvedere bandshell. This is a bandshell with a fountain in the background, some park benches sitting in front of it. So this is a place that It looks like a town center, which is a great place to go out to view concerts or go out and meet with your fellow city members, town members, enjoy a little concert, enjoy a little play that they've probably put on here, little school plays. This is a great place to go out. The supporting information says large scenic seating area in park for music festivals and daily morning yoga Tai Chi practices. So they have Tai Chi, they have yoga there. Another great place to exercise too, if you want to throw it into that category.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thought about that.
But yeah, this is great. This is a great place to be social.
All right. The reason why I picked this one is the city of Weston is a really small town, and it's in Florida. It's a small town. And one of the things that I have come to realize doing my research, regardless of the town you live in, the size of the town you live in, every town is going to have some sort of city hall or main meeting place, whether it's a courthouse, a city hall, the mayor's residence. I don't care if your town is 5 people or 500 people or 5,000 people. There is some place where the city government or the county government does business. Now, again, this might not be right next to your house. I get that, and I apologize. And you might have to travel a little bit to get there. So this is not a fix-all for everyone. But if you live in a small town and your place of government is not in the game, this is 100% eligible through a lot of different criteria, aside from the main criteria that we're talking now. So go out and take a look. And if you can, get this POI in the game, hopefully you can get a gym. And you can have another place to add on to your playboard. So we could get really deep into the weeds on how you actually create a gym. I don't know that do we want to do that? I don't know that we want to do that, right?
Yeah, let's take that one. Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
Maybe. We'll talk about that one. Yeah. So there are ways that you can influence a gym being born, but we'll talk about that on another episode after we make sure that we can talk about that. But anyways, this town of Weston in Florida is a very small town. It's a couple hours away from a big city, and obviously let me back up and say the actual town hall is in the game, but this pavilion band shell was not in the game, and it's not new because I looked back at several years of photos on the satellite imagery, and it's been there for a couple of years. So it's not like they just built this and people are like, oh, Jamal, this is new construction. This has been there since at least pre-pandemic. So that's a good example of something that a rural town can do. So again, every little town should have some governmental place of business that you can go and be social.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Number three, as we pull this one up, this is in a language that is not English. And we might need to have our friends, Kawan, or other people kind of tell us how bad we butcher it. Now, Chris, I was going to talk about this one, but your pronunciation last week and the week before was excellent. So if you don't mind giving a stab at this one, I'll talk about it.
All right. So the title is Seinenweg Rau Suth Parkour. And the first part of the description is Har kannst nei wege erfahren die. And the bottom part is cut up, so I can't quite read it. The supporting information is Til des Bruckberger seinen Weges, mit dem man seinen Körper neu entdecken kann.
That works for me. So someone halfway translated this for me, and the description. So the part that kind of gave it away for me a little bit in there, I can see the word parkour, which is kind of talks about a little bit what it is. Essentially, this is a trail for people who are in wheelchairs. So they built this specifically around this area. I looked at it over the satellite map. It's a wheelchair, I don't want to say training area, but kind of how like if you go to your local school and there's like a track and you just kind of walk around the track. Essentially, this is a place for wheelchairs. So I wanted to pick this one partly because a lot of the things that I've been seeing and reading on Twitter is people were saying that if you were disabled specifically, it's hard for you to get out. And I thought this was interesting that the translation is essentially a training place for people in wheelchairs. So a good place to exercise. I don't know if you have thoughts on this one.
No, this is a good one. I think it's definitely a paved path, so it encourages exploration. It encourages exercise for people who have some mobility issues. You can it's a nice flat path for you to get out there on. I think this is a good one.
Now, the thing I don't love about this, Chris, if I'm being honest, I don't love that the pictures are pretty much the same.
Yes.
The main photos and the supporting photos. But for all of the new Wayfinders out there, now I've probably got a different opinion than everybody else in the world. I shouldn't say that. Maybe not everybody. But when I'm reviewing, I tend to give a little more leniency to some things. If I know this isn't a part of the world or a part of my local area that does not have, that's a more rural area, I'm going to look at this with a little more grace than I would in an area where there are a lot more Pokestops or a lot more POIs or a lot more Wayspots. Now, that's not necessarily in the criteria, but as we are trying to encourage rural area people to get out there and do that, Wayfinders around the globe are here to support you. So if this is all you got, then do it. And people will take care of you, right? Now, there's always going to be some gatekeepers out there, but if in your area, and I looked at the satellite view, this is it. If this is it, we're good with it. We want you guys to be able to play all the Niantic games just as much as anybody else. So normally, I'd really be a little more critical of essentially the same photo in both places, but in this one, I understand what the nominator was trying to do, and I'm here for it.
Absolutely, yeah. And like this is when I'm doing my reviews, I'm in the same boat. I'm more lenient and more forgiving in an area that doesn't have a lot of Wayspots than I am if you've got 975,000 in your area.
Right.
I'm a little bit more critical, right? But something like this, if there's nothing around, then 100%.
Right. Go
out, enjoy, spin your Pokestop, lock your portal.
Nice. All right. So hopefully, explorers, that was kind of a good breakdown. And again, my call to action is to everyone who can hear my voice or see my picture, and you live in a city, get in your car, get on your motorbike, get on your scooter, drive 20 or 30 minutes north, south, east, or west away from all the big buildings and out to where there's bigger trees and buildings, and look for your mom and pop shops, look for your little Ace Hardware stores, look for the little post office that are not in the game. It's a great way to get out and explore now that the weather's getting nicer in the northern hemisphere. I know in the southern hemisphere it's different. In the northern hemisphere, where I'm at and where Chris is at, in Chris's area, hopefully the snow is starting to melt and you can get out and drive around. But please go out and help your rural trainer buddy. Like, go do it. Go find something. Look at the map. Find something that's not on the map and nominate it. I'm personally going to do that. I'm going to get outside of Charlotte. I'm going to go out to the surrounding areas. I'm going to look at the map. I'm going to find things that aren't in there, and I'm going to nominate it. And hopefully I'm going to be able to help a rural trainer have something that, I know this is not a Pokemon show, but have something that can help them on Wednesday raid days so they can get out there and raid in person. Create some more Pokestops, create some more gyms. Wayfarer is here to help all the games, right? As Chris and I do this, we'll probably have an episode that's more focused on creating portals or more focused on creating flowers. For this one specifically, we want to get things on the Lightship database that are going to help out those rural trainers in Pokemon Go.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you can't get out to a rural community, use the Google Street Map, right? Drive the Google car around and find someone in that rural area who might not know what's in their area and say, hey, I found this for you. I found this for you. I found this for you. Have you considered this? Have you considered that? Right. So if you know that there's people out there who are struggling, drive the Google car.
Now, if you're watching this, you can email Chris and I, wayspotters@PokemonProfessor.com. You can always send us an email. If you are in a rural area and you don't know what to do, email us. Send me some cross streets, right? Send me, 123 Main Street and the cross street is Graham in your city, state, zip code, wherever you are in the world. I will look it up. I will do the overhead view, and I will drive the little Google car around, and I will send you back suggestions. So there's many listeners. There's many listeners over the year that we've been doing this podcast that I've helped, and you've gotten things into the game. The other thing you can do is you can call our hotline, 704-426-3710. I will do my best not to answer the phone when it rings, because this actually rings on my cell phone. And I know I've done that a couple of times and freak people out. So if I see it's a Google number, so I'll make sure I don't answer it. But Chris and I get emailed the voicemails, right? So we'll listen to your voicemail. Again, we will get in the Google car and drive it around, and we will do our best to help you out. Both of us love doing it. I really love doing it. I really love helping it. So you have two allies here who will drive the Google car around and give you suggestions. And if you want to buy me a plane ticket, I'll fly out to your city and I'll nominate it myself, you know? So
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, that happens, dude. Awesome.
I don't know if anybody's that dedicated, but
right.
Hey, the option's there.
Yep.
Like, I have the email goes to my phone, right? So like, I get it all the time. So we're incredibly responsive.
That's right. Email us, wayspotters@PokemonProfessor.com. Or again, call our hotline, 704-426-3710. So, Chris, that was a lot, but we have one more item of business before we go to break. And Tintino dropped some news on us this week. Do you want to go over this news Tintino dropped on us?
He did, yes. And, yes, so I don't know if our listeners or our viewers noticed earlier this week, Niantic pulled a lot of nominations into Niantic voting, right? So there are ways that you can get your submission pulled into Niantic voting. I'm not going to talk about how to do that, but there are ways. So there was a lot of stuff that
our Discord is talking about it right now. As a matter, literally right now, our Discord's talking about it right now.
I saw the thing, yeah. So they pulled a lot, like it was a lot, and it was not the way that we normally expect them to pull nominations, right? And they can pull stuff randomly from here to there, right? They like to pull stuff in for whatever reason, just because they're bored, I guess. But it was a lot. Like I had 2 of mine pulled in at the same time, and I know people who had like 3 or 4 pulled in, right? So Tintino dropped this yesterday. And I'm going to read it for everyone. I probably won't read the whole thing, but I'll read the beginning of it. So first of all, I want to call it to the ambassadors who were fantastic. They were all over the forums where people were posting this, saying, hey, I got 6 of mine pulled into Niantic voting. What's going on? A lot of the ambassadors were on the forum saying, hey, this isn't normal. We've escalated it. Thank you for the information. So big thank you to the ambassadors who helped with this investigation. Big thank you to anybody. Yes. Everybody who posted examples on the forum. Niantic gets a lot of crap for not addressing things quick. They were all over this, and they came to this resolution quickly. It says, hello, explorers. Thank you to all. Hello, explorers. Thank you to all who've helped with this investigation by providing examples and connecting with our ambassadors. Thankfully, this is a bug, but not a bug, but rather intended impact from one of our system's calibrations. Moving forward, you will not experience this issue as we have corrected the number of nominations it's pulling into Niantic review. So essentially what they were doing is they were calibrating their system because it automatically pulls stuff into Niantic review. So they were calibrating that for some reason, and it pulled a lot more than it should have. Right.
Now, remember, we talked, I don't know if it was last week or the week before that they had pulled in 80 or 90,000 in a dark review. So I wonder if this is the aftermath of that. I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of speculating.
It could be. But I think that it's probably part of that. And I think they were fixing their systems to kind of aid in the backlog and aid in the quick review of certain. And I asked some people in the Discord for examples of what they had pulled in, and it was like a random smattering of a bunch of stuff that I couldn't pinpoint an exact trigger, so to speak. So they said,
careful there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Be careful there. You're getting into some. Yeah, just be careful.
we noticed that it was pulling nominations that were upgraded. So they fixed it. So if you've upgraded your nomination, it will not pull it into Niantic review. And they said that, and if you spent an upgrade and they pulled it into Niantic review and you lost that upgrade, you will be refunded it.
That is clutch.
Yeah,
that is huge. So key.
That is huge.
My goodness, I've lost an upgrade over some weird stuff before and never gotten it back. And I'm like, screw it. I'll just do 100 more reviews, more out of spite than anything else. But the fact that Tintino and team are going to refund an upgrade, I think that is such. Niantic has been just taking L's and L's and L's left and right. And Wayfarer is kind of niche, so a lot of people, won't know about it. But those of us who Wayfarer know that this is a big W. And thank you to Niantic for that after, just the L's they've been taking.
Yeah, no, 100%. I suspect that was the ambassadors going, hey, you might want to refund the upgrades. And Niantic was, yeah, no, it's a good idea, right? So I 100% believe that was not necessarily Niantic's idea, but the ambassadors, they kind of nudge, right? So... But kudos to them for accepting that feedback and saying, no, that's 100%, that's a good idea, and including it in the original message, because that could have been disastrous, right?
Right. Absolutely.
It says, if your nomination is currently in Niantic voting as a result of being placed on hold and then resubmitted, this is intentional and not as an impact on the new system calibration. Those will not be sent back to the community reviewing. So as part of their backlog cleanup, they said, hey, put your old stuff on hold and then review it and then take it off hold and then we'll take it. So they've taken those and they're not going back. So that's stuck, that you're good there. You can expect your upgrades to be reimbursed no later than next week on April 14th, 2023. And I've heard from a couple of people that they've already gotten theirs back, so They're working through them pretty quick. Yeah, no, it's great.
So it sounds like that's more of a drop dead date, because I was going to say that's kind of oddly specific, but that's good.
Yes,
right on. So Niantic, good job. Everyone is quick to shoot them with the arrow right in between the eyes when they do something bad. So let's give them a thumbs up.
I think, you know what? Honestly, it's the Wayfarer team. They've been a lot more communicative lately. They've been a lot more open about what they're doing. They've been doing a lot better job at communicating with the player base, and again, thank you, ambassadors.
Yes,
but no, kudos to Niantic. This is great.
Great. All right, Chris, we went over a lot of stuff in this first part, and we're already going long. So you want to take a little short break, play some dad jokes, and then we'll come back and we'll do some Call of the Week, Wayspot of the Week, and we'll let everybody get on with their Sunday.
Sounds good.
All right, explorers, welcome back to the Wayspotters podcast, episode 65, the episode that is dedicated to the rural trainer, helping you get things in the game and on the board so you can play it. You're joined by myself, Blaine Jamal, and Chris, Professor Glau, and we are here. Chris, did you enjoy your break?
I did. It was very nice.
I went and got a refill of water. I've been trying to drink a little more water, and it's in my Oregon Ducks cup there. So everybody who's watching on the video version, you see Puddles the duck, the mascot for the University of Oregon. So without further ado, let's go right into our Wayspot of the Week, which we need to get a little sounder for Wayspot of the Week. We need to do that.
Yes,
maybe,
we do.
Maybe we'll reach out to Pen Pal Simon, and he'll write us a little rap. And
there you go.
We'll have a little rap that'll lead us into the Wayspot of the Week. So, Pen Pal Simon, if you're listening, let's make some beautiful music together. All right, go ahead. Wayspot of the Week, take it away.
So, Wayspot of the Week comes to us from Shrandamar in the Wayfarer discussion Discord, the Way Celebration channel. It is a direction sign for a hiking trail. So it's got two pictures going cross with each other. One of them it looks like a green trail. One of them looks like a blue trail. The picture is super zoomed in, but it's like it's a beautiful picture of this
it's
trail marker. It's a gorgeous picture.
Yes.
And I'm going to read the title. The title is in Danish. So to our Danish viewers and listeners, if I butcher this, please let me know. Send us an audio file with the correct pronunciation, and we will play it on a future show.
I don't know if the listeners have noticed my theme that I'm throwing you all these weird languages, but you're taking it like a champ. So I'm looking at this going, this would be really good, but this would be really easy for Chris to pronunciate. Let me go find something. I don't think we've ever had a Danish nomination before. Shout out to everybody in Denmark and that part of Europe. So this is gorgeous.
It is a gorgeous picture. Yeah. So the title is Stimarkor til Højballaden og Håndlastjen. And it just means Stimarkor to Højballaden and Holmsdalen. So which is the two areas, I'm guessing towns or cities or destinations that these trails go to. So yeah, if I butchered that, please let me know. I did try my best.
Yes, and another shout out to the rural trainer. So the theme of this is the rural trainer. So this is obviously somewhere that is not in the middle of a city. Another example of something you can do as a more rural person. Go out and find these signs. I'm sure they're there. I can't guarantee they're there, but I've found enough of them to say that in more rural areas, you're going to find things like this. So hopefully this gives you another example of something that you can find that you can nominate to put into the game. And before we get to Call of the Week, I understand a little birdie has told me, Chris, that we have a audio file from last week. Do you want to set this up?
So last week, one of the lovely calls of the week that we had was German, and I feel that I did pretty well with the pronunciation of it, but it was from our friend Kroner in the Pokemon Professor Discord, and I tagged him with the TikTok that I made of the call of the week, and he sent me an audio file of his pronunciation, probably the correct pronunciation. So thank you very much, Kroner, for that, and we're gonna go ahead and play that now.
Klohäuschen Südstadtpark. Ein stilles Örtchen im Park für kleine und große Geschäfte.
So yeah, there you go. There is the correct pronunciation of last week's Call of the Week. And maybe I will do another TikTok with his pronunciation in there and send that back out so that it's out there in the world with the correct pronunciations.
You know, I'm going to learn how to speak German just by doing this podcast. I'm pretty sure I'm going to learn German just by doing this podcast.
We're going to be multilingual by the time we're done.
Speaking of Call of the Week, let's go ahead and play the jingle, and let's get into this week's Call of the Week. So here's the jingle.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the live long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer just to pass the... Oh no. Hey, Jamal, I found some coal.
All right. So for this week's Call of the Week, we have two. So this comes to us from our friends at Wayfarer Cole on Twitter. I'm shouting them out again. We're going to have them on the show at some point when we can get the schedules to align. But let me see. Let's pull this up here on screen so we can show everyone what we're looking at. I got to hit the button. Aha. There we go. So what we are looking at is this one, this Call of the Week. It's Chris Chan Memorial Site. And as I look at this, if I'm not mistaken, this is just a lamppost on the side of a street, right? I'm not making that up, right? Like I'm not missing something, right? It's a lamppost on the side of the street, and what's really funny about this is Wayfarer Cole had some very interesting commentary about it, and it's on the tweet. And it's one of those, he says, and I'm quoting, I'm going to leave out some swear words so we don't have to bleep ourselves. If you think so highly of Chris, then why is your memorial a concrete block that probably gets peed on by every bleep dog who passes by? It's also a fake, and it's located at a high school, so it probably gets peed on by teen boys rather than dogs.
I gotta say, I love his tweets and his descriptions of the Cole. It's amazing.
I'm like, okay. I mean, the first visual you get of a dog walking by, kind of, hey, statue, let me do my business, right? But then I get the visual of a teenage boy, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going somewhere where I was not expecting it. But Wayfarer Cole is right. It's a fake nomination. It's a lamppost outside of a high school, and it's a little bit disrespectful if there really is a Chris Chan that died to disrespect a person like this. And if there's not 100%. If there's not a Chris Chan that didn't die, that's just bad form to wish death on someone else. So it's wrong on a whole different couple levels.
100%. Absolutely.
Right. All right. So moving right along, let's go on to Cole of the Week number 2. And this one also comes to us from Wayfarer Cole. And let's go ahead.
Cole, he had a good week.
Wayfarer Cole had a great week, an excellent week. All right, so here we go. Here is Cole. Oh, might help if I press the right button. All right, here's Cole of the Week number 2. This is all yours.
Cole of the Week number 2 is a dog poop station. So it's not multi-use of the one we reviewed before. It's got doggy poop bags and a garbage can. And the picture is, it looks like a dog that kind of looks like Snoopy, but it's definitely not Snoopy. The title is Snoopy. And Snoopy dog leash sign. And the supporting information is gathering place. So Wayfarer Cole says, point the first, nobody hangs out at a dog poop trash can.
Right. Unless you're a fly.
Unless you're a fly, which flies can't spend Pokétops. So
right, exactly.
Point the second, it's a fake Snoopy.
Yes.
It is definitely a fake Snoopy. That is not a real Snoopy. It kind of looks like Snoopy, but it ain't Snoopy. Sorry.
I need to know. We have to have Wayfarer Cole on, and the person, people, him, her. I'm not even sure how many people run this account, if it's more than one. But I want to know how many they review every week, because they knock it out of the park. And I don't know if they just get lucky, but they really knock it out of the park when it comes to finding Cole and putting it up there. So I will continue to promote them. I think they do a great job. And for our listeners, I know a few people have reached out and asked and said, who is this? Someone asked, Hamtaro asked me, was this my burner Twitter account? Am I doing this? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I can't take credit for this. I'm not that good. I'm like, I wish this was my burner account and I was doing it, but so it's not. So, all right. So hope you guys enjoyed the Cole of the Weeks 1 and 2. And you will be seeing those in video form sometime this week. Chris, can I pat you on the back for a second before we close out? You've been killing the video aspect.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. You're bringing so much to the show, and you're killing it. And people are like, wow, we get to see what you guys look like. And I've also been told that I need some things behind me instead of just a blank wall with the picture. Like I've got to get like some plushies and some Funkos and some other stuff. So I'll work on that. I have a green screen over here. Maybe I'll just put the green screen up and just put things on the green screen.
Different backgrounds,
I can do different backgrounds. So
I had someone ask me, that Voltron right there, yes, that is Voltron, and yes, it does come apart.
Oh, yes. Okay. And then if you tilt to your other side of your shoulder, there's a Pokeball over there, right? Not the other way.
There is. I've got.
You're like,
I don't even know which way I'm going. All right, let's just go this way.
There it is.
There's a couple Pokeballs, a Snorlax, a Mewtwo. I don't know if a lot of people know this. That's that Poke Anatomy book that for Gen 1 that came out a while ago.
Okay.
Some cards and stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to step my game up now that we're doing video. So your game is stepped up. I'm going to have to step mine up. So, all right. So thank you guys all. We really appreciate you. And we can't have an episode of Wayspotters without shouting out our executive producer, KatettheKonz. You rock. As well as all of our other Patreons. We love you. But Kate, rock on. And I'll continue to send you weird things in the middle of the night. We appreciate you. And then you answer like in the middle of the night. So it's weird. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of Wayspotters. If you like what you hear and what you heard, there's a couple of different ways that you can show us. The first way that you can show us is you can follow us. Follow us on Twitter at Wayspotters. We are incredibly responsive and we do our best to answer questions as soon as they come in or shortly thereafter. You can also rate us on the podcast service that you're currently listening to us on, such as Spotify, Anchor FM, Apple, Google, iHeartMedia, and many others. If you ask me and if you ask Chris, 5 stars are the best stars. The second thing you can do is you can visit our website, wayspotters.com. From there, you can find out where you can get the links to download the show. You can also send us a message directly to our inbox at wayspotters@pokemonprofessor.com. We really look forward to hearing from you. For our American listeners, you can leave us a voicemail on our hotline, 704-426-3710. You never know. If you're incredibly lucky, your voicemail may appear on an upcoming episode of the show, or you can send us a message directly from Twitter. And finally, if you're not a member of the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon, you can join for as little as $1 US a month. You will have access to all the Discords of all the family of shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, including Wayspotters, Special Conditions, Gotta Watch 'Em All, Purified Podcast, and Lord Up. It's a fantastic place filled with fantastic people. With that, we look forward to you listening to us again next week. We want to thank you for listening to Wayspotters. And remember, there's only one way to stop a fire. Pause my mixtape.